Okay, now the next part here, we'll be going through method 2, which is the titration method. Okay, I will not go through the determination of reagents first. Okay, let's this titration method all about before we go into. So let's go through the steps. Now for titration method, same thing, the first step is always to prepare the reagents. So let's sulfate, potassium, sulfate. Now, okay, how do we prepare the reagents? How do we know what to use? For titration method, it's actually a reaction between an acid and an alkali. So an acid and an alkali. Alkali means it must be an hydroxide. Okay, so let's see here. Prepare reagents to make salt. Once again, the N ion, which is the negative ion, I can say the one that we normally say after the potassium sulfate, the second part of the name, it will normally become the acid. So in this case here, what acid will we be using? Because of the sulfate, we will use a sulfuric acid. Now, the cation here, which is the first part of the name in your salt, potassium, will become an alkali. Okay, alkali. So in this case here, what kind of alkali we'll use? We'll use potassium hydroxide. This is the alkali that we'll be using. So when you talk about preparing the reagents, it will always be an alkali reacting with an acid. Okay, this is what your titration method will use. So next up, we perform titration with the use of an indicator to find the endpoint volume. So what we were doing now, okay, how do you perform titration? You actually see a burette. Okay, this will be most of the time either filled with the acid or the alkali, it depends. And we with the acid, and we will put the alkali in a beaker. In this case, what acid will this be? Acid. It will be titration. Now, we'll be adding in an extra thing, which is your indicator. So there's actually indicator present. Okay, some of the indicators is like example your screen meter orange universal indicator. Any one of these indicators that will help to determine the endpoint volume. What is this endpoint volume? It's actually the volume in this case here, whatever in the burette. So it's the volume of acid required to completely neutralize the alkali without any excess acid present. Okay, so it's the volume of acid required to completely neutralize the alkali. So we want to make sure that the solution left at the bottom is pH 7 and there's no excess acid. You know, like sometimes we tend to put a bit too much acid. So the solution turns from alkali to neutral, then become acidic. We don't want that case to happen. We want it to reach to just nice neutral, which is pH 7. So the indicator is going to help us to find the endpoint volume. When I say again, the indicator is going to help us find the endpoint volume. Right? So you can see here, the titration, we will first use it with an indicator to find the endpoint volume. Now, the next part what you're going to do is, we're going to repeat the titration. Okay, so you're just going to draw the same boring nonsense again. Okay, the acid, in this case, is a sulfuric acid. It will be titrated once again. Oops, doesn't seem to be drawing so well. Titrated with alkali, potassium hydroxide, Okay, but in this case here, no indicator is present. So we're going to repeat the same titration without the indicator. But now, whatever volume that we found out here, we're going to use it now. So we'll exactly put it in. Let's say at step 2, we realize maybe 25 cm cube is needed. 25 cm cube of acid. To be exact, is 25.0 cm cube of acid. In this case here, we'll just nice use 25.0. Okay, no more, no less. I will just put 25.0 in here. Just make sure 25.0 cm cube of acid goes to the alkaline. Once we reach that, okay, we're going to take the solution and we're going to heat it till saturation and allow it to cool. Then we collect the residue. You realize this part here, once again, is your crystallization. Now you're going to heat the solution till saturation and then allow it to cool. So if I need to draw it, it'll look like this. In my beaker here, in this case, my solution, after it has neutralized, what I'm going to get is my potassium sulfate. Which is saturation. So this is my hot saturated solution. And then from there, I'll let it cool. When I cool it, I'm going to get my crystals. What crystals are these? These are your potassium, sorry, let's draw nicely, potassium sulfate crystals. These are your potassium sulfate crystals. So lastly, once we get the crystals in the solution, last part is to filter and collect the residue, which is your crystals. You can see solid, liquid, how to separate them. We use filtration. So let's draw the filtration setup. Okay, crystals here. So this is my potassium sulfate. And then after that, I will dry it right on the filter paper. That's my filter paper. Okay, so these are the steps for your titration method.